So I was at Greenwood Flea Market back in the summer last year, around June or July last year, and I came across this old faculty sign-in book from Ingersoll Elementary School in the Allendale neighborhood. There's outdoor lots where people are selling stuff like, yard equipment, picture frames, clothing, stuff like that. And then they have the indoor units where they have like individual booths. This one vendor, this older man, he has a little lot towards the back of the flea market area where he keeps most of his things in old totes, and he had them covered up with these plastic tarps, in case it rained or something. But a lot of that stuff had already been exposed to the weather. I'm digging through a lot of his stuff outside in his lot, and I come across this old book. I open the book; it has all these old signatures in it, and then I see a lot of notes, old notes and forms with the name Ingersoll Elementary School. So, I looked up Ingersoll Elementary School, and that school's been closed for years. I think it closed back in the mid 2000s. But this particular book, dates all the way back to the 1960s. From 1962 to like 1965. This is a signature sign-in book of all the faculty staff members at Ingersoll back in the mid 60s. The early to mid 60s. The check-in times, the check-out times. If you called in to work sick, or you had a death in the family, you would have to come in the next day and sign and say why you were out of school. So yeah, this is pretty cool. A lot of names in here are repeated, because this book holds signatures for like 3 school years. And there's a lot of personal notes in here that I found. The guy that I bought this book from, he was a member of the staff at Ingersoll back in the 60s. I didn't ask him what his position was, but I think he was a custodian at the school. He was a janitor custodian. He wasn't a teacher. But yeah, he held on to this book for well over 60 years. And it was kind of funny, me just finding that outside in a tote, partially covered with tarp. And to me, like I bought it from this guy for $1. He only wanted $1 for this book. And me being a collector of antiques and collectibles and stuff, I knew this book had to be worth more than $1. I'm like, but he wanted $1 for it, so I gave him $1. So I took it home and I started looking through all the pages and everything, and a lot of the pages are weathered due to it being exposed to the weather, to the rain and all that stuff. So, but a lot of the signatures, a lot of the writing in this book is still legible. You can read it quite clearly. So I'm going to let you guys check this out. This is amazing. Ingersoll Elementary School. Okay, here's a Marcus Hamilton. And at the top of this page, as you can see, it says music. So it looks like Mr. Hamilton was the music teacher at Ingersoll at the time. And you can see all of his check-in times at 8 o'clock in the morning, 7:50, 7:45. And this was February to, looks like, May of 1965. This form is a teacher's directory list. It lists all the addresses of the teachers at Ingersoll back in 1959, the 1958 to 1959 school year, and it lists all their addresses on this form. And as you can see, a lot of these streets are not far from the school. Let's see, there's a Hazel Trotter of the 4700 block of McDaniel Drive. There's a let me scroll down. There's a Viola Beecham, 1671 4th Street. Helen Bedford, 2800 block of Milam. There's Pauline Bell, 1945 Poland. Bessie Brown, 2705 Looney Street. Lionel Brown, 1626 Garden Street. Nora Brown, 3600 block of Myrtle Street. So Murphy Street, Daisy, Caldwell. Doris Dubois, 1943 Ashton Street. Ida Edwards, 1410 Jordan Street. What is that? Nazareth Franklin, 1910 Looney. Here's a letter from the Caddo Parish School Board dated April 1964. The 7 Mill Maintenance and Operating Tax Renewal Election. To all principals, the 7 Mill Maintenance and Operating Tax Renewal Election on Tuesday, April 28 is of great importance to all school personnel as well as to the entire school system. Please urge your faculty members, other employees, and friends to vote April 28th. I'm not going to read all that, but you guys can see right there. From James C. Atkins, President. And this is a retirement program for a Miss A.C. Pullum, 1926 to 1965, 39 years of dedicated service. Retirement program. The Herrin Transfer and Warehouse Company, Incorporated. This place was located at 1305 Marshall Street in downtown Shreveport. It actually had 3 locations, one in Shreveport, one in Baton Rouge, and one in New Orleans. But the company was actually founded in Shreveport. It says here, here's the company's history right here. The Herrin Transfer and Warehouse Company, Incorporated was founded in Shreveport, Louisiana in 1911 by the late John B. Herrin Sr. And since that time, the management has been in the hands of the Herrin family. The Shreveport plant is managed by J.R. Joe Herrin, assisted by his son, J.R. Richard Jr. The New Orleans plant, established in 1932, is under the direction of J.B. Herrin Jr. And you take a look inside of this little pamphlet here. There's pictures of the warehouse, inside of the warehouse, and its workers. And as you can see, all of the workers appear to be black American men. And this is from the 1940s. And I'm going to be honest with you guys. When I opened this pamphlet and I saw those pictures for the first time, and I saw that all the workers were inside, all the workers were black men. The first, my first thought was, okay, so these guys, their job is to package and handle these pieces of furniture with care during their transport from the warehouse to someone's house. And all I can think was, what if an employee broke a piece of furniture by accident? And you got to think, this is the 1940s. Well, this pamphlet goes back to the 1940s, but the company itself was actually founded in the 1910s, like 1911. So you got to think, we've all heard the horror stories of how black Americans were treated back in those days. So I'm thinking, okay, so what if an employee broke a piece of furniture by accident? Were they physically abused? Were they, called out of their names? I'm pretty sure they were. Obviously these men are dead and gone now, but I wish I could interview these men, but they're dead and gone now, obviously. But I would bet my next paycheck, if these men were still alive and I could interview them, I would hear some horror stories come from this warehouse. If walls could talk. And you got to remember, minimum wage back then was like 25 cents an hour. So these guys were probably making anywhere from 25 to 35 cents an hour, picking up 300 and 400 pound pieces of furniture, on top of not having any medical benefits. So after they trashed their backs, they couldn't afford to go see a chiropractor to get their back worked on top of dealing with harassment on the job. And not just at the warehouse, also at the customers' homes. These guys were delivering furniture to different people's homes every day, so there's no telling what kind of customers they ran into on a daily basis. That's the kind of crap that a lot of these guys had to deal with back in those days, man. It was either, go to work and deal with harassment, or, don't work at all, and if you'll eventually get put in jail for, if you got kids, you got a family to support, and you don't work, you'll eventually get put in jail for non-payment of child support. Unless you just abandoned them and they couldn't find out where you were. This is an overhead view of the north side of Cross Lake, where Hilary Huckaby Road and Roy Road lies today. This picture is unrecognizable because the shoreline, the north shoreline of Cross Lake, looks nothing like this today. There's no railroad. There's a golf course, several defunct roads. There's a Crawford Road, a Fairway Road, Blanchard Road, proposed boulevard along the shoreline right there, where the train track now runs. And well, to the left you see the golf course, and in the middle, in the crease right where the two pages meet, it's kind of hard to make out that word, but it looks like it says Poison Boulevard. See if I can zoom in with my camera and my scanner here. Yeah, and if you look in the background where North Lakeview is, all you see is land, trees, grass. So that's where North Market is today. So North Market wasn't even in existence back then. And over to the right hand corner you see downtown, little depiction of downtown, and it only shows two main roads that takes you to downtown. So this is what the north side of Cross Lake looked like 100 years ago. Lakeview, the Lakeview subdivision. That's where Hilary Huckaby and Roy Road, that road that takes you to the Allendale neighborhood. It connects Allendale with the Cooper Road neighborhood. And if you look at the water right there, look at the boats in the water. There's a couple of sailboats, and it looks like some speedboats over here in the left hand corner. I didn't even know those kind of boats were around back then. That's kind of crazy. If you go to Google Earth and look at the overhead view of this area, you can still see the layout of some of these roads in that wooded area right over there off Hilary, Huckaby, and Roy Road. Also, look at that gate. The gate that runs along Proposed Boulevard right there. That's the only protection that these cars had from driving into the lake.